Hello all and welcome. So, my name is Nicky Priest. My pronouns are he, his, him. I am a professional actor, stand-up comedian, autism advocate, and most importantly, in this case, a member of Separate Doors by being both on its National Ensemble of Actors and on the company's advisory board. Basically, I'm good at pulling double duty. So, welcome. Yes, thank you for the laugh. So, welcome to the Separate Doors Making Tomorrow's Theatre's Producers Conference. And welcome to, and a big thanks to our lovely partners, the Lawrence Batley Theatre. Please do. So, to tell you a little bit more about myself, hopefully I won't bore you all to tears, I started as a professional actor in late 2016. And I made my professional acting debut with the Royal Shakespeare Company in a play called The Seven Acts of Mercy. In early 2018, I was then a part of the first ever in-house production for the Birmingham Hippodrome, in the form of The Twisted Tale of Hansel and Gretel, which was co-produced by said Birmingham Hippodrome and a disabled arts umbrella called Open Theatre Company. Later that same year, I performed in the first version of the Ben Weatherall play Jellyfish at the Bush Theatre in London, and then a year later, performed it again at the National Theatre. And now, like I just said, here I am with Separate Doors. I'm a jack of all trades. So, I bring up my credits because they all share the same thing in common. They're what we call integrated theatre, which is what we're all here to talk about. A question that Separate Doors asks a lot is, how do we create great theatre with and for everyone in the same space at the same time? That in itself leads into another question about what I just mentioned. What exactly is integrated theatre? Well, the best way that I can describe it, integrated theatre is basically theatre that consists of the cast having actors with and without learning disabilities / neurodivergencies performing together. What we aim to achieve here today is figuring out a plan with how we can make that vision a reality, and also you've got to ask yourself, what do you want that reality to consist of when we take it from vision to reality itself? So, we've got an action-packed day. As you can see here, I have my clipboard. You can tell I'm organised. So, the schedule for today includes a mini performance from Dark Horse, a keynote speech from our keynote speaker, Tim Crouch, then 2 panels, and then a provocation from our own George Webster. Then we have a lunch break, which I'm sure you're all looking forward to. I know I am, I'm a stuffed gut, admittedly. Then after lunch, we will have roundtable discussions about writing, directing, and producing integrated theatre. Then a roundup of everything we're talking about, a response, also from George Webster, a closing speech from a representative from the Arts Council, and then we all get to go home. So hopefully, I won't bore you all to Kingdom Come with my wittering today. So, introducing first, performing to a track composed for the conference by Loz Kay. And if you listen very closely to this performance, you will actually hear the names of everyone that Separate Doors has worked with over the last 3 UK-wide Sailmakers projects. Please welcome to the conference, Dark Horse.
Separate Doors.
I live near the sea. Sometimes it is calm and beautiful, and so am I. Sometimes it is stormy, exciting, and so am I.
Sailmakers. We're all sailmakers.
Sailmakers.
Sailmakers. We're all
sailmakers.
Separate doors. Same house. Sailmakers. Sailmakers.
Sailmakers. We're all
sailmakers.
Sailmakers. Sailmakers.
Sailmakers.
Revolution.
Silent. Quiet revolution.
We're
all sailmakers.
Sailmakers. Helen Abbott.
Mary Lewis.
Roxana Ahmed.
Arts Council.
Malcolm
Kate
Barnard.
Lovell.
Tim Booth.
Kate
Angie
Spencer.
Carroll.
Anna Marsland.
Liz Crowther.
Velma Paterson.
Darby Feeder.
Dale Brooks, MBE.
Catherine
Jeffrey.
Harkins.
Laurie Sanson.
Johnny Vivash.
Insolite
Sally
Fabry.
Wainwright, OBE.
David John
Anna
King.
Wheeling.
Mary Malone.
Lydia Mark. Kirsty Adams. Tessa Parr. Stuart Allen. Olivia Race.
Liz Hooty.
Loretta Barrow.
Toby
Sefton
Meredith.
Sefton Smith. Alice Bezant. Ness Brooks. The Underwood Trust.
Patrick Collier.
Hannah Davis. Tom Wentworth.
Izzy Noak.
Amanda Margaret Whitty Fraser.
Megan Dent.
Helen Gould, OBE.
Charlie Bent.
Judith Johnson.
Faye Billing.
Pip Leckenby.
Tim Crouch.
Daniel
Sarah Middleton.
Easter.
Lou Ramsden.
Tom Howell.
Joe Sproul.
Angela Gasparetto.
Wilshaw.
Angie Zippel.
Separate doors. Same house.
Thank you very much, Tim. And thank you very much to Dark Horse. How about that, eh? Woo! Incredible, absolutely incredible. So, what we've got next is our keynote speaker, and we are very excited to have him here with us today. A Brighton-based actor, writer, director, and basically just a big theatre addict. So, basically, this is someone that we've wanted to have talk for us, and we're so glad that we have got him. Because he has been creating work that's experimental in the world of theatre, basically. And he has recently come back from performing his own play, An Oak Tree. at the Young Vic Theatre in London and touring it internationally. So basically he gets around a lot in our industry. So, it is my pleasure to introduce to all of you here today at the conference, writer, director, author, and just basically an all-round theatre genius, a lightning rod in the world of theatre. If you can help me please welcome the groundbreaking and experimental theatre practitioner, Tim Crouch.
You set the bar very high. I'm not a genius. Hi everyone, thank you so much for spending half an hour with me as I expand some thoughts. I'm going to talk a little bit about this word, freedom. Oh, no, before I do that, I'm going to introduce myself. I am 61 years old. I am male. I'm about 6 foot. I'm bald and have been for as long as I can remember. I'm a white male and my pronouns are he and him. I'm wearing a dark blue shirt and some grey trousers and some black sneakers. Sorry I didn't do that before. I'm going to talk about this word, and I hope I'm going to talk a bit about this word, freedom and imagination, because I think sometimes they're sorely lacking in some of the more mainstream theatre that we are subjected to. I'm going to start by showing you, I'm going to show you a picture of this. What is this, everyone? Yes, you don't have to put your hands up, you can just shout. A box, very good, very good. Very good, it is indeed a cardboard box. I'm going to ask you the question, what else could this be? Just throw it out, anything? A tube, very good. A brick, very good. Now we're cooking. A supercomputer. Anything else? A space? A TV? A gift, yeah, could have a present inside it. If you were a 3-year-old child, what could this be?
Rocket ship.
Thank you. Rocket ship. A hat, T-Rex. A bike. Come on, a bike. No, what? Time machine, very good. Is the box, by the way, is the box doing anything to enable these transformations? No, the box is just being a box. Who's doing the work? We are, yeah. We're doing the work. So a time machine, a spaceship, anything really this box could be, and it's our imagination, if we apply it to this box, that transforms this box into something else. This is not a quality that only young people or children have. It's a quality that all of us have, but I feel that as we get older, we sometimes lose our trust in this ability to turn one thing into something else. So, I'd forgotten that that was coming next. So art makes children powerful. I mean, if anything, I think the most powerful artists probably are children, are younger people. People who still have that capacity to see one thing inside something else, or to understand that anything can be anything. That fundamentally for me is what art is. It's the idea of one thing inside something else. The thing that you think it is, if you put it in the thing that you say it is, then there's nothing for us as an audience to do. So there has to be this distinction between what we say and what it actually is. So art makes children powerful. I think also children make art powerful. I think that's all right. And I think powerful children make art. All those permutations of this slogan make sense. So it's not just children. I would like to think that adults are also capable of it, though sometimes I grieve that we're not as good as we should be. I'm going to show you this. What is this, everyone? A glass, very good. I don't need to stand behind here. A glass of what? Water, good. So in the spirit of the cardboard box, what else could this be? Vodka. I know where your mind is going. Good. What else could it be? Use your imagination. Yes, okay. Okay, lager, vodka. Mouthwash, very good. Magic potion. Could it also be, I'm going to say, could it also be a spaceship? Could it also be a supercomputer? What other things did we put onto a cardboard box? What's stopping us from turning this glass of water into anything? Just the limits, maybe, that we put on our sense of imagination, yeah? Could, for example, this glass of water be a tree? Yes. Are we okay about that? Remember that we're not in the real, well, we are in the real world, but we are exploring our imaginative relationship to the real world. So this glass of water could possibly be a tree. And I want you to think a bit more about this glass of water being a tree, because, as Nicky said, there's a play of mine called An Oak Tree, and an oak tree is inspired by a glass of water. Because in the 1970s, a long time ago, an artist called Michael Craig Martin put this glass of water in a gallery, and he called it an oak tree. He called it an oak tree, and he said, next to this glass of water, he said there was some text, and in the text, he explained what he'd done to this glass of water. And it was a question and an answer, and the question was, to begin with, could you describe this? And the answer was, yes, I've changed a glass of water into a full-grown oak tree. And then the question was, do you mean that the glass of water is a symbol of an oak tree? And the answer was, no, not a symbol. I've changed the physical substance of the glass of water into that of an oak tree. And then the question was, it looks like a glass of water. And the answer was, of course it does. I haven't changed its appearance, but it's not a glass of water. It is an oak tree. And then there's a little bit more of the text. And further down, he says, what precisely is the art? Is the glass of water the art? And the answer is, there is no glass of water anymore. Question, is the process of change, turning the glass of water into an oak tree, is that the art? And he says there is no process involved in this change. And then the question is, the oak tree, is the oak tree the work of art? And the answer is yes, the oak tree. And the questioner then says, but the oak tree only exists in the mind. And the answer says, no, the oak tree is physically present. It's physically present, but in the form of a glass of water. So the supercomputer is physically present, but in the form of a cardboard box. The spaceship is physically present, but in the form of a cardboard box. The oak tree is physically present, but in the form of a glass of water. Is the glass of water having to do the work? No, the glass of water is just a glass of water. Who's doing the work? We are, yeah, we are. So in a way, this glass of water is a great actor. I'd like to suggest that this is a great performance from this glass of water. Why? Because it is allowing us as an audience to make this transformation. We don't have to have a glass with a picture of a tree on it. Or we don't need to employ a glass blower to make a glass that looks like a tree. We don't need that stuff. And the danger I feel for me in the more mainstream kind of art is that people don't trust our ability as human beings to see one thing inside something else. And the facility to see one thing inside something else is super empowering for us. Art makes children powerful. This makes me powerful because I feel that I am needed in the relationship between turning this glass of water into an oak tree. I took this idea no, I didn't. Before I even knew about this artwork, I wrote a play called My Arm, about me living with one arm above my head. And at the beginning of the play, I took objects from the audience. And all the objects, a bit like this glass of water, all the objects were the characters in the story. I did the show in lockdown online. And so online, what normally happens in live performances, I ask the audience to donate their objects, and I use the objects on stage. But online, I asked people to send photographs of objects to me. And then I used the objects on a Zoom performance. So I'm going to show you some of the characters that were in the play My Arm. So this was an object sent to me by somebody. This was actually an audience member in Chile. The performance was for a festival in Chile. And I was sent photographs of objects, and I took them at random. And in the story, this hair grip was my father. This wooden spoon was my mother. These headphones were my brother, Anthony. I don't think there's a problem. I don't think anyone has a problem with this. I hope you don't have a problem with this. You go, well, it doesn't look like a boy. It doesn't look like my brother. No, I don't think that's what art is about, really, necessarily. This was a character called Simon Martin, who is a baddie in that story. Again, I select them at random, so it's not about me choosing which object would be the best for which character. And then this battery was the house we lived in. Again, selected at random. So on one level, it's super playful. On one level, it's like a child looking at a cardboard box and seeing a spaceship. On another level, it's saying to an audience, you are powerful. You are powerful. It's not saying that the actor doesn't have to do anything. I'm going to sort of slowly move this argument forward a little bit. Oh yes, and I can show you this one. So art makes people powerful. And yes, it makes people powerful, like the show we saw from Dark Horse just now. These were powerful people. But it also makes another entity in theatre powerful, and that is you, the audience. I think art should make its audience powerful, as much as it makes its performers powerful. So I think when I make my theatre, I'm always trying to make the audience as powerful as I possibly can. There are usually more in the audience than there are on stage. It's usually the audience who will go into the world and change it. So it's important for me that I give the audience as much power in the relationship. And for me, one of the superpowers that human beings have is their imagination. Oh yeah. So I'm going to ask you to do something now. I brought this orange from the hotel breakfast bar. I'm going to suggest to you that this orange is a dog, okay? And I want you to really imagine what kind of a dog this orange is. So just in your heads, just try and create a picture of a dog. And if you can in your heads, place the picture of that dog that's in your heads into this object, into this orange. So think about how big the dog is, how small the dog is. Is it got a fluffy tail, or has it got a shaky, waggy tail? Has it got a wet nose? Is it a curly-haired dog? Is it a thin dog? Is it a fat dog? Try and think very clearly. Is it a dark-coloured dog, a light-coloured dog? Where is your dog? What's your dog doing? Has your dog got a ball in its mouth? Try and picture an image of the dog as strongly as you can in your head. And then try, if you can, an act of magic and place the picture of that dog into this orange. So here's my dog. This is my dog, everyone. And I'm really excited that this is my dog. And I'd like to introduce everyone to my dog. I have an image of what this dog is, and I hope that you all have a slightly different image of what this dog is, because it's your image of the dog. And my dog is going to stay there for the rest of the talk, and hopefully won't misbehave. I'm now going to show you something else. I'm going to show you this. Yeah. Did anyone imagine this dog? No. Oh, one person. Great, in the back. 2 of you did. Imagine that dog. Okay. But maybe 99% of you imagined a different dog to this one. So this dog, in one way, is a very disappointing actor. And this dog here is a very good actor, because this dog is facilitating or allowing you to have your own relationship with idea of dog in the form of an orange, and this dog is just saying, dog. There is only this dog. We can only go with this dog. The only dog we're dealing with in this show is this dog. And in a way, for me, this is a dissatisfying dog, because it reduces all of your power, yeah? And presents all of the power into the image of this dog. So I think, once again, in my work, what I'm trying to do is reduce the power of this and increase the power of this, yeah? So, for example, I'm going to show you 2 pictures of dogs that, for me, are the most satisfying. Well, this is a dog, yeah? I mean, remember, again, it's not a dog, Tim. What do you mean you're rubbish? It's obviously a pine cone. Yes, it is a pine cone, but as human beings, we can understand the idea of one thing inside something else. So this is a dog in the form of a pine cone. Let's do another one. Somebody said brick earlier. This is a dog in the form of a brick. You still have the idea of dog, yep. And rather than it just being this one, which is, I think, quite thin and straight, and there's the dog, this dog is a very powerful dog. Because for it to be a dog, you have to do it. You have to make it happen. Is everyone okay? Is this making some kind of sense? For me, always, in theatre, it's to create a contradiction between what you see and what you see with your eyes and what you see with your ears, or what you see inside your head. And for me, the images you see inside your head in theatre are much more powerful in a way than the images that you see with your eyes. I'm trying to make work, I think, for audiences, and rather than for spectators. So an audience is someone who experiences through their ears, through audio. And what you see in your ears, I say this is a dog, but it looks like a brick. Your eyes say brick, your ears say dog. And somewhere your brain has to resolve that contradiction. And that's a very exciting thing for me. I'm going to talk about space. I'm going to show you this. Okay, what is this? A stage. And where are we in this stage? In the future, good. Come on, throw some more stuff out. Future, where else could we be? Yeah, but where else could this stage be? What else could this stage present? Leeds, did you say? Yeah, very good. Doncaster. How about Russia or China? Or how about the surface of the moon? Come on, anything else? America, very good. Hong Kong, yeah? It could be inside or outside. Could it be? You could be inside an elephant. It could be the inside of an elephant, this stage. Where else could this be? Yes, the top of a mountain. It could be anywhere, okay? This is an empty stage, and this, for me, is a very good space. It's a very good space because it's containing the possibility of being anywhere. And then I show you this one. This is a traditional stage. And where else could this stage be? Well, yeah, it's difficult. I suppose it could. You'd have to do quite a lot of work with your imagination to think it's outside, because everything about this stage is trying to say to you, it's here. It's just here. Here it is. It's here. You can't imagine somewhere else. It's here. Look, sofa, rug, table, bookshelf. This is a very traditional kind of stage. And for me, I think, thinking about giving an audience power, I think it's a very disempowering stage. Because it tells you where you are and doesn't allow your imagination to play in relationship to that. I'm going to show you another. Look, this is the acting version of that stage. This is Daniel Day-Lewis, everyone. Yeah. And this is Abraham Lincoln. I don't know if you know about Daniel Day-Lewis. He's a very famous actor, and he played Abraham Lincoln, who is the American president, who has been dead for quite a long time. And he played him in a way like that dog. They showed you the picture of the dog. He played him in such a way that he couldn't be anything else, that there was no space for your imagination to be in the relationship. He spent a year getting ready to play Abraham Lincoln, where he had to speak with the accent the whole year. He read every possible book on the subject. On set, when they were filming, everyone had to call him Mr. President. He wouldn't allow anyone with an English accent to come on set because he didn't want to disturb his accent that he was playing for. He was playing for Abraham Lincoln. And I think that this is a problem. A bit like that stage that's so full of stuff. I think this is a performance that's so full of stuff that it doesn't let us in. It doesn't let us in. Just for your information, as a side issue, what time is it now? Oh, golly, not long. Kenneth Branagh is another famous actor who's about to do Prospero. He's about to play Prospero in the play The Tempest next year. And I just read in the paper last week that he said this: performing Shakespeare can be very physical, and Sir Kenneth started training for his new role of Prospero in March, and it doesn't open until May. Okay, so think about that. And then he said, He said he needs at least a year of many types of exercise, mental and physical, to be ready. This is a problem for me about actors, because it's not about, for me, it's not so much about the actor. It's more about the audience. And for Kenneth Branagh to spend a year getting ready for his performance of Prospero, for me, suggests he's not going to give you lot much thought. Yeah? Because he's going to have done all the work before he even walks on stage. Before he even meets you, he's going to have done all the work. Like Daniel Day-Lewis and Lincoln, it's like there's nothing I can do. He is a dog who looks like a dog. Yeah? And that for me is not a satisfactory artistic relationship. Is everyone all right? I'm going to show you this man. Yeah, who is that? Good question. This man is Andrew Scott. He's a very famous actor. And I need to move on because I'm going to run out of time. Andrew Scott. Okay, Andrew Scott is a very famous actor. Look at him. Look at his beautiful arms. Look at his lovely face. Look at his chinos and his white socks. So this is Andrew Scott. Now, Andrew Scott, in the world that we live in, can be anything, yeah? So this is Andrew Scott as Moriarty in the Sherlock program, yeah? This is Andrew Scott playing Moriarty. This is Andrew Scott playing the hot priest in Fleabag. Very good, very good. This is Andrew Scott playing some guy in a Noel Coward play that was in the West End a couple of years ago. Look at that. That's really good acting. And then Andrew Scott had so much freedom, I'm going to talk about freedom, coming into freedom, that he was given the part of Vanya, Uncle Vanya. It's a very famous Russian play by a man called Chekhov, Mikhail Chekhov. Anton Chekhov. Michael Chekhov, somebody else. Anton Chekhov. Free, Andrew Scott, free to play all those other parts. And also, in this production of Vanya, not only did he play Uncle Vanya, but he played all the other parts in the play. So here he is playing this part. Very good, look at that. And here he is playing this part. And here he is playing this part. So there was only one actor in this production of Uncle Vanya, and he played every one of the characters. Every one of the characters. So this is it's a question that I want to talk about around freedom, about how free we are. This is Andrew Scott, clearly one of the freest actors at the moment available, because he's allowed to do anything he likes. And here's a picture of Andrew Scott playing Hamlet, with a little flower between his fingers, looking very handsome and moody. Andrew Scott is, I think he would define himself as a neurotypical, body-typical actor. And so Andrew Scott is allowed to play anything. I want to ask you a question. Would you, in the freedom that Andrew Scott has, can you imagine Andrew Scott playing somebody with neurodiversity? Yeah? Or with a learning disability? Would that be... We're free. He's free. Everyone is free. We can be whatever. The dog can be a brick. The brick can be a dog. Can Andrew Scott play someone with a learning disability? Yeah. Okay, good. Yes. Let's be clear. That's probably, if we believe that art is free, then that's absolutely what Andrew Scott is able to do. Yeah? Okay. And then the question I want to ask is, should Andrew Scott play someone with a learning disability? No. Okay, I just want to hold that no in the room. It's great. It's great. It's like the middle of everything, really. Andrew Scott. And could someone with a learning disability or neurodiversity, could they play Hamlet? This is a production of Hamlet by a Peruvian company, by a company called Teatro La Plaza. It's the most amazing piece of theatre I've seen for many, many, many years. And a group of actors, all with learning disabilities, who take on the idea of to be or not to be, I suppose. Hamlet, Shakespeare's play Hamlet, there's this very famous speech about to be or not to be. Should I exist or should I not exist? Should I exist here? Should I exist on stage? Should I exist with this voice? It took on all these other qualities. Hamlet, 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 Hamlet. This is Laurence Olivier, very famous Hamlet, and here's one of the Peruvian actors also playing Hamlet. So go back to that question of, should Andrew Scott play someone with a learning disability? Problematic, real problem. Even though I talk about freedom and anything can be free, and anything is possible, we want freedom in our theatre. But the quote I want to give to you is, and I always forget the exact wording of it, and I can't remember exactly who it's by. Oh, here it is. No one is free until everyone is free. And at the moment, not everyone is free. I'm talking about artistic representation, the freedom to be anything. I think we have to hold on to an understanding and a belief that anything can be anything. And we have to really celebrate that liberty and that freedom and that possibility that this can be that and that can be this. And we can be anything we say we are, as long as we're also given that opportunity to everyone. And that universal opportunity is not available. And so to come to a conference like today and to see people work like the work that we saw this morning feels for me much more a demonstration of freedom and imagination than Andrew Scott is kind of ever capable of having. And I'm not dissing Andrew Scott. I'm sure he's a lovely guy. I'm sure he's please don't tell him that I've used him as a subject for this keynote address. I just want to also introduce, this is Teatro La Plaza. Some of the greatest work I have seen in the last 10 years has been made by people, with people, who are not neurotypical. There's a company called Back to Back in Australia. I don't know if you know about this work, but and there is a wonderful quote about Back to Back. Oh, I've just really... Well, yeah, here we go. Back to Back. Come on, Tim. Well, yeah, they make disability a tool of artistic inquiry. Back-to-back theatre. Over the last 30 years, back-to-back theatre has made a body of work that questions the assumptions of what is possible in theatre, but also the assumptions we hold about ourselves and others. As an ongoing dialogue with our audience, each new project is an investigation seeking answers to questions raised in previous work. Our attention lies with design, light, and sound. The stories we pursue weave the personal, the political, and the cosmic. We work to curiosity and interest in the live moment, to what sits within and between. It was that thing about what sits within and between, that place where the brick is the dog, or where the glass of water is a tree. It's in that space. It's uncertain, it's open, it's empowering for us as an audience, and it's what this company has been doing for many, many years. And they have inquiries of profound social consideration. This is a show called Small Metal Objects, which was about the Jamie Bulger case. They're an Australian company. And I remember seeing this in a ferry terminal in New York. And we sat in a bank of seating, we had headphones, and these voices started to come. And the work is so expansive and so universal. And they don't see a distinction between neurodiversity and neurotypical. They just understand that we want to see one thing inside something else. We understand the capacity to understand that we contain multitudes, of course. We can be anything and we can be everything, but it's fundamental that we give that opportunity to everyone. It's 10:45. Did I have any more slides? What did I have here? Oh yeah, there's another piece from back to back. Oh, and here it is. No one is free until everyone is free. And I'm talking about freedom on every level, but profoundly in this talk, the freedom to understand one thing inside something else. And the last slide I want to leave you with is this one. Thank you very much indeed. Boom.
I live near the sea. Sometimes it is calm and beautiful, and so am I. Sometimes it is stormy, exciting, and so am I.
Sail makers. We're all sail makers. Sail makers.
We are all sail makers.
Tim Crouch, everybody. Woo. Very insightful stuff there, wasn't it? I never knew that you could have a brick be a dog. Fancy that. I didn't realise he was trying to convince us to pull a Father Jack from Father Ted. You know, I love my brick. So, fascinating stuff. So, as you can see, we have chairs set up here because we're going to be having 2 panels coming up. And I would like to introduce to you all the panel chair. Now, this individual is an advocate for disabled artists and uses his own lived experience. He is a producer, a performer, and a podcaster. He also works at Mind the Gap and was Ramps on the Moon's Agent for Change at Leeds Playhouse. And there's our other team there making the final changes, accommodating for our guest. Thank you on his behalf, and you won't offend him with cash either. So, please welcome to the conference, Paul Wilshaw.
Hi everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. I just want to thank Lawrence Bradley Finley and Shepherd Doors for having me here today. So I'm going to introduce you to our panel for the first part of this, which is Amy Leach, Michelle Taylor, and Amanda Whittington. I'm going to give you a brief introduction about myself, and then I'm going to ask the panel to do a brief introduction about themselves and what they've been working on recently. So I'm Paul Wilshaw. I am a late 30s man with glasses. I've got a checkered shirt on, black bottoms and black shoes. And yeah, I'm going to pass on to Amy.
Hello. Hi, everybody. My name's Amy. She, her. I'm a white woman in my 40s. I'm wearing a denim dress, and I've got auburn hair that's sprinkled with grey.
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle Taylor, I'm Director for Change at Ramps on the Moon. I'm a white woman in my 60s, I've got very short grey hair. I'm wearing a kind of multicoloured red top over a white long sleeve t-shirt and dark blue trousers and shiny green shoes. And I'm relaxed about pronouns.
Hi, I'm Amanda Whittington. I'm a playwright, she, her. I'm a female in my 50s. I'm wearing kind of brown tank top, jeans, trainers, and was there anything else you had to say?
No, that's okay, I think.
That's all right for the time being, thank you.
That's all right. Just to let everyone know that if you were here yesterday, you have seen the infamous gong that was here. When 25 minutes hits, I'm going to get my creative enabler to hit the gong so that I know we've got... He didn't tell me he was going to do that, so sorry about that. But yeah, so when that sound goes, we know we've got 5 minutes and then we will be chatting to another panel, okay? And now all my panelists are shaking, so...
Very on tenterhooks, Paul, all the way through.
Okay, so my first question is, how are you all introduced to integrated work? And what does integrated work actually mean to you? I think Nicky gave a brilliant example of what it meant to him. So, yeah, I was interested in what it is to you. I'll start with you, Amy, first.
So hello, my name's, as I said, I'm Amy, I'm a director. I think I was first introduced to integrated work through a couple of things. One was watching the work of Grey Eye Theatre Company, who are obviously the absolute pioneers of this work. Watching shows of theirs a very long time ago. And then I think the other thing was I was really lucky as part of my degree that I could do elective modules in British Sign Language. And so I remember having to kind of do a signed essay about 20 odd years ago, which I did about deaf theatre companies that existed in America, because actually this was before brilliant companies like Definitely Theatre existed here in the UK. So I remember kind of finding out a bit about places like Deaf West and the National Theatre for the Deaf in America. I think integrated theatre for me, in my head, I kind of often break it down into kind of 3 areas. One is about kind of representation, so about who are we casting and what are the stories that we're telling to represent deaf and disabled people in the stories we tell on our stages. One is about kind of how can we make our work creatively accessible to deaf and disabled audiences. And then I suppose a kind of third area, which is about the process by which we make the work. So how can we make a process that is as inclusive as possible for everybody in the room to do their best work. So that's, how I would describe it.
What Amy said. I mean, you can't do better than that, really. I'm not going to add anything.
Just a little to add. I remember seeing Grey Eye as a teenager at school in the 80s and just being blown away by the work. As a practitioner, as a theatre writer, I'm learning. I'm learning what integrated work is and what it means to me and what it means to the industry and the audiences. So I'm just kind of soaking it up. And I've been very lucky to have to get to know Separate Doors and Dark Horse, and I came to one of the master classes a couple of years ago, and it was a kind of revelation, because my work as a writer is all about words and text and dialogue and talking, but the fascination for me as a writer and the joy and the magic of it is subtext. So to be in a room where the silent approach was all about the actors finding and embodying what felt to me like subtext, the stuff that isn't said, but that iceberg underneath the ocean of a piece of work was really liberating to discover. So I'm just here to understand and to hopefully embody it in my practice, but also I just think it's about, we are theatre. Theatre has to be for everyone and about everyone, and as the keynote speech so rightly said, nobody's free till everybody's free, and that really resonates. Sorry, I've gone on a bit there.
No, it's great. I was wondering, how does your experiences of integrated work influence the work you create now? And do your creative processes change when you're working with an integrated group?
Me again. I suppose I've been on quite a journey over the last kind of 8 or so years to really make to, I suppose, shift my practice so that actually it's just part of what I do. Making integrated work is just part of what I do. Every single show, I will be thinking about those 3 areas, about the process, about the audience experience, and about who is in that team, whose stories are represented. And that journey really started meeting Michelle, actually, and kind of the brilliant work of Ramps on the Moon, which lots of you will have come across, but that kind of big pledge across a number of large-scale theatres across the country to really try and normalise the presence of deaf and disabled people on and off our stages. And I'm so grateful to that, that catalyst, really, to kind of send me on that journey. Because it has been an incredible journey. I think the thing that I've always tried to kind of keep at the absolute top priority is that it's about the art in the end. It's like no good as making kind of integrated work if it's rubbish, because that doesn't help anybody. It means that audiences aren't having a great time, people aren't recognising the brilliance of the actors, of the kind of the shifts in storytelling. So it's always felt really important that the art needs to come first, and thinking about all of these layers as kind of creative layers has been really revolutionary for me in my own practice. So thinking about what does representation of deaf and disabled lives bring to a story that I would never have discovered otherwise? What does thinking about creative access layers within a world that I'm creating as the artistic layers rather than something that's added on kind of afterwards, what do those layers do to make the work even richer? And how can we, by making the work in as inclusive a way as possible, make sure that everybody involved in that process feels real ownership and pride, and can be amazing? Like, how can we make rooms where absolutely everybody can bring their A game and be absolutely fantastic? So what barriers can we remove? What attitudes can we shift? What seeds can we plant so everybody can be absolutely amazing? We can make really, truly brilliant work that also happens to do all the things we want it to do, kind of politically, I suppose. Yeah.
And I think, in answer to that question, I mean, I at the moment, I'm not directly making work. I'm not writing or directing or performing at the moment. My job is about enabling other organisations and companies who are making the work to think in a much more integrated, and the word I like to use is anti-ableist way. So to actually tackle that ableism, which is the prejudice and the discrimination that lots and lots of us in this room have experienced and continue to experience. And so I think for me, picking up on what Tim said in the keynote speech, my words, not Tim's, but in a sense, the way we've been doing theatre, the way we've been making work is a bit boring. It's a bit lazy. And let's do something more exciting. And we can only do that by integrating all sorts of people that 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, last week, would never have populated, never have been in the shows or making the shows that we all of us go and see. So I think I'm not answering your question, Paul. I'm sorry, but I'm going to carry on anyway.
Nope,
so it's about, that's my train of thought. It's about the fact that I can now, with absolute conviction, talk to organisations, talk to companies, big companies, small companies, and hold the work, the art, as the most important thing, which is what they want to do, and say, this is exciting. This isn't something you ought to do. This isn't you being really, really good people. This is about making, as Amy said, really, really rich work. I'm not sure I made sense then, but I knew what I meant.
You made perfect sense. And I think at the moment, I must say, as a writer, I am not directly involved in creating and making integrated work, and that is partly because, as you said, the systems and the conventions we work in terms of commissioning plays for the stage are rather outdated and not very fluid and responsive to where we are now. And I guess I hope I can play a part in changing that. But at the moment, I think writers will work with theatres and sort of respond to what they're doing and the opportunities they're given. And I think the onus is on the gatekeepers and the producers and the commissioners to say we're going to work in a different way. And I would certainly embrace that.
Okay, I think that really leads on to the question about theatres, and they are going through a hard time. I think everyone can recognise that at the moment. So how hard has it been recently to create integrated work and to actually get it programmed by theatres?
I think it's been really hard, but I think that we need to get over ourselves as an industry, and we need to stop banging on about how hard it is. I mean, I'm sorry, I just think that we are where we are, and I also think that the problem is that we've got ourselves as an industry, as a sector, into this kind of mindset of scarcity. We're kind of in the habit of saying we haven't got enough. We haven't got enough time, we haven't got enough money, we haven't got enough people, we haven't got enough support, we haven't got enough advocates, we haven't got enough. And that, mixed with a whole bunch of myths around it takes more money to employ disabled people, it takes more effort to employ disabled people, it takes more time to employ disabled people. Yes, sometimes it does, and lots of times it doesn't. And so, sorry, I was popping the mic then. So that mindset, that thinking that we haven't got enough, mixed with, and it takes so much to employ disabled people, is making it really hard, and we need to stop it.
No, yes to all you said. Yes, 100%.
I think for me it's about priorities. It's about where people place it within priorities. I'm really lucky now because I've been doing it for quite a few years. People just expect that that's what's going to be part of the shows that I make. So I'm really lucky actually, because when I work with producers, there's an expectation that access and, you know, there'll be a really healthy budget line basically for access, because it's just expected. And I suppose it's maybe now why one of the reasons people might want to employ me as well. So I suppose like that, I'm really lucky to have that situation. But it's also because it's just about priorities. It's like, actually, if you commit that you're going to do it, you're going to do it. And I think back to when the first ever show that I integrated any kind of access into was Road, back a long time ago now, Michelle, back in 2018. And I had this notion, I basically had never really thought about audio description. Then I'd met the brilliant Ben Wilson, who had opened kind of absolutely my mind to what it could be, the possibilities. And so I just said, put it in the brochure. Just put it in the brochure that all the shows are going to have integrated, that there's going to be creative audio description at every performance. Just put it in. And then it's just got to happen. Because I was like, if we've put it in the brochure, I can't not do it. I can't not find a way to make it happen. And that might mean that on that show, I think I didn't have a movement director, so I could pay for the audio description consultants. And it was Road, which lots of you will know is a play full of monologues and duologues, so there's always actors available to jump on a microphone and do some audio description. So it was just about working, as we always do. We always, you know, as theatre makers, we work within the parameters that we've got, and whether that's 50 quid to do a show on the Fringe or, you know, mega money. It's like, well, we work within the parameters we've got. So actually, if we prioritise the work as a really important creative layer, then we've just got to somehow make the budget work as we would do, because actually you wouldn't have a show with a fight in it and not employ a fight director. It's just the same thing. If a fight is really essential to telling the story of Hamlet, you're going to have to find the money to pay for your fight director. Or if there's a big load of movement in something, you're going to find money for that movement director. So I think when we think about these roles and about that representation as really essential, and we prioritise that, then actually we will just find a way. But I think we have to just commit to doing it. But it is tough. But yeah, I think that's how we make it happen.
Yeah, I think when we've only got 5% of people with a learning disability in paid employment, then, and sadly, I think it's probably about 2% of people with a learning disability in paid employment in the arts. I think there's so much that needs to change. So I think my next question is going to be, do you think this is a problem with programming preconceptions, or do you think it's sadly to do with audiences' prejudices? And do you feel that there is a stigma around integrated work and changing original text? Because you've done Oliver Twist at the Playhouse that I went and saw, so yeah, I'm really interested to know that answer.
I can talk about Be My Baby a bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes, I think. I don't think it's due to. I think it's due to a kind of. Did you say audiences' preconceptions?
Yeah, it's kind of like the audiences have already made a judgment if they find that there's an disabled cast member in the team.
That wasn't my experience when we did Be My Baby, which is a play I wrote that was staged at Leeds Playhouse in 2019. And just to give you a bit of context for that, Be My Baby was written in the 90s. It was first performed in 2000, I think, and has gone on to have a sort of long and happy life. It's a play about a mother and baby home in the 1960s. It's about forced adoption, and in the early 60s, if a young woman got pregnant outside of marriage, she was sent to an unmarried mother and baby home in secrecy and shame, and forced to have the baby and give the baby up for adoption, whether she wanted to or not. And I think there's a lot more in the public domain about this issue now, and there's Long Lost Families just done a 2 weeks sort of special about it. But back in the sort of 90s, it was something that I knew about anecdotally. I'd heard about it through my mum and her friends and everything. So I wrote this play, and Leeds Playhouse revived it in 2019, and I think you were part of the casting for that, weren't you? And cast Anna Gray, who was a member of Mind the Gap and who has learning disability, and cast her as one of the young women in the home. And she was absolutely amazing, and she brought, for me as a writer, kind of going back to that play, I wasn't in rehearsal a lot. The director sort of worked on her version of the play, but I just found what she brought as a character actor. She came in and played the character and brought her technique and her training, and it was very much a play as well about what's not said. It was about the 60s and this sort of secrecy and shame around this issue, and nobody in this play really talks about what's happening to them or why it's happening or how they truly feel. So again, it was a kind of exercise in exploring the subtext of a story, and Anna just, I think because of her training and her approach to the job, just played the subtext as well as the text, but in such an extraordinary way, and kind of just captured that internal agony that this character had in a way that I've never seen that, and I think audiences really responded to that. So that's, and that was a sense of there was no, we didn't do any kind, we didn't think about anything that needed to change in the play other than she came in as an actor and gave her unique interpretation of that part, and it was astonishing, wasn't it? Yeah. So I've kind of have I answered the question? That's not my contribution to the question anyway.
It's really great. So I went and saw Be My Baby. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. So,
oh, thank you.
Yeah, so I really loved it. So yeah.
I suppose I'm in an interesting position because for 8 years I was part of the senior management team of Leeds Playhouse, and so part of programming, but also through the work of being involved in ramps and that journey, I speak to a lot of artists, senior managers, artists at a whole different range of career stages about this work. And generally I think there is a real appetite for it, at least kind of on the surface, because I think there's one thing being like, oh yeah, I think I'd really like to do this, but then there's like making the leap to actually doing it, I think is really interesting. I think there's a lot of fear that people have about getting it wrong, or, oh crikey. I think there's a lot of fear that people have about kind of taking the steps and kind of to doing the work. So I think that's quite a big barrier. I think also being part of one organisation for a long time, I've really seen a shift in terms of audience and kind of how audiences meet the work, and reviewers actually. It's been interesting, hasn't it, watching how reviews have changed from the early days of Ramps to kind of where we are now, because there's just a much more nuanced response now, rather than kind of maybe some of the earlier stuff, which was a bit like, oh, haven't they done well? You know, it was like patronising and like, you know, anger-inducing. And actually, I think that has shifted as well. Really noticed audience responses have shifted a lot during that time. And a real positivity generally. There'll always be the odd kind of, you know, annoying letter, but that's, you know, part of having thousands of people come through your doors every year, I should say. But yeah, I think there is a shift. I think there is an appetite, and I think people are really enjoying, like you say, representation that actually, because it brings new layers to the work. That's the thing. We're kind of, you know, doing something like a Dickens or a Shakespeare, where you're discovering new layers in something that's existed for hundreds of years. Like, we all want to see that. We don't want to see the same tired old thing. So I think there is an appetite, and I think we're also really helped by representation that's happening also on our screens, things like Strictly Come Dancing. There's been some amazing thrillers with really kind of deaf-focused storylines that have just happened on TV over the last 6 months. Like, there's a real sea change, I think, happening. It just could go a bit quicker, and more people could do it, I think. Yes.
No. Okay. We've got some brilliant actors in this room today. We've seen Dark Horse performance. So my question is, when casting learning disabled actors, where do you typically go to find the talent? What can learning disabled actors do to increase their visibility with producing venues and theatre directors? I know it's a hard question in 5 minutes.
This is a really tough one to finish with. And I have two answers. And the first is, be as brilliant as you are. It's that simple. Be as brilliant as you are. And the second one is really tricky, because the reality is that at the moment, people who are casting, people who are programming, people who are directing need to be motivated to go and look for that talent. That's the reality. So I think it's about making relationships with local theatres, local companies, making sure that you're there, you're in people's awareness, that people know about you. I think genuinely it's tough, and I also think, I'm really sorry, but I think that as disabled people generally, and perhaps particularly learning disabled people, we have to work harder to get people to know where we are. I mean, I'm really sorry to end on a negative note, but that's what I think the reality is.
I would also add there's theatres and directors, but also casting directors. So there's some really brilliant casting directors based, particularly in the north of England, and I think those relationships, making sure that they're being invited along to see all of the fantastic work that's being created, I think is really, really, a really good thing to do. I'm sure you're already doing. I think one of the ways that at the Playhouse we worked and gone on that journey, because of course thinking about a big theatre and how they can best support artists with learning disabilities. We've just had amazing support. I've seen people from Mind the Gap, people from Dark Horse, like the journeys we've gone on with companies where we can actually kind of, there can be learning in both directions, but like proper support to make sure people can then fly on stage, because I think the worst thing we could also do is kind of whack somebody on stage without the support that they need. That's anybody. But I think that would be to the detriment of the individual more than anything else. And so actually I'm so grateful. I'm just looking to Charlie and Amy's out there, and yeah, just like massively grateful for the journeys like we've been on together to kind of to work out how we might do it, and therefore support people to be really brilliant on stage. Yeah.
Amanda, have you got a file?
I think it's a difficult industry. It always has been. Access is tough, and I think I would just say I don't have key to the door or any particularly helpful solutions, but I would say just never forget that, you know, you have talent, you have skill, you have a right to be there, you have stories to tell, you bring something unique to the work that you're doing, and you have faith in yourselves and faith in what you're doing, that it's wonderful artistic work, and you have every right to be knocking on those doors.
I just want to thank to our panel. I think my final message is have fun and also collaborate with each other. We're expecting everyone else to come to us. Also work together and find your own opportunities to create your stories. So that's my message on that.
Mary Roxana Ahmed.
Arts Council.
Malcolm
Kate
Barnard.
Lovell.
Tim Booth.
Kate
Angie
Spencer.
Carroll.
Anna Marsland.
Liz Crowther.
Velma Peterson.
Darby Feeder.
Dale Brooks, MBE.
Catherine Hargreaves.
Laurie Sanson.
Johnny Vivash.
Insolite
Sally
Fabry.
Wainwright, OBE.
David John
Anna
King.
Wheeling.
Mary Malone.
Lydia Mark.
Kirsty Adams.
Tessa Parr.
Stuart Allen.
Olivia Race.
Liz Hooton.
Loretta Barrow.
Toby Meredith.
Sefton Smith.
Alice Ozard. Ness Brooks.
The Underwood Trust.
Patrick Collier.
Hannah Davis.
Tom Wentworth.
Izzy
Amanda
Margaret Whitty Fraser.
Hi everyone. So the next panel we've got today is we're going to be discussing about the creative process and integrated work. I want to introduce Judith Johnson, Angela Gasper. I'm going to get your name wrong, so I'm going to try my best. Gasparato.
Pretty close.
To Kate Lovell and Lost Kate to stage. Like in the last panel, can you just give us a bit about yourself and what work you're doing at the moment and a brief description?
Okay, I'm Judith Johnson. I am a white woman in her 60s. I'm wearing a greenish t-shirt, lovely pink cardigan, and some jeans and trainers. I work with Separate Doors as a new writing associate, and I'm a lecturer at Central School of Speech and Drama. I'm a playwright, and I also work with a company called Raised Roof at Harlow Theatre, which is also a learning disabled-led company.
Hi there, I'm Angela Gasparetto. I am the Director of Movement for Separate Doors. I work professionally as a movement director, and I work in training. So currently I teach at RADA, but I've taught at other schools as well. And I've also had the opportunity to work with definitely theatre a number of times, and in a training capacity, worked for 4 years with a wheelchair user as they progress through their training. And I'm just going to slip out to get a tissue. I'm coming back.
Hi, my name's Kate Lovell. I'm a white woman in her early 40s. I've got shoulder-length brown hair. I'm wearing a bright pink and orange jumper and shiny gold earrings with squares on. I am a guest director for Separate Doors. Professionally, I'm a director, writer, creative facilitator. I'm currently co-creative director at Queen's Theatre, Hornchurch.
Hello, I'm Loz Kay, Director of Sound for Separate Doors. I'm a white man, 55, with grey hair. Today I'm wearing my formal grey jacket and black jeans and grey shoes. My interest and passion is music as public power and the power of the human voice, and also making sure that people have access to theatre and singing.
Oh. Yep, that's right.
I totally forgot to describe. I'm not used to speaking in front of lots of people. I'm a white woman. I'm 49. I have brown reddish hair, glasses. I'm wearing black and grey, which is my usual colours, and I've got red clogs on.
Very, very much. Like the last panel, my first question is, how were you first introduced to integrated work, and what does integrated work mean to you? We'll go this way first. Yeah.
Probably the first time I saw anything was I was working for, I'd written a play for Connections programme at the National Theatre, which is a youth theatre scheme. And I'd gone to the showcase of that particular year. And one of the companies that was there on the Olivier stage at the National was Raised Roof, who I started working with later. And I'd honestly never seen anything like it. It was just, the stage was full of people of all different types, for want of a better word. Like all really colourfully dressed and all kind of helping each other. They were like they were carrying each other. They were emotionally being great to each other, if that's, I can't quite describe it, but just there was this kind of massive group of people who were just really alive on the stage, who I didn't usually see on a stage, working together. And I was just gobsmacked. I thought, what the heck is this? And that kind of sparked off my interest in this idea of integrated theatre.
I'm not sure what my first sort of kind of exposure was, but probably the one that comes to mind, and I can't remember what year ago it was maybe 15 years ago or something like that, but I got invited to, I was lucky, just luck, I got invited to work on a project that I therefore got to see the work, but it was looking at the story of Juliet, and the Juliet, the woman playing Juliet named Storm, was a wheelchair user, and we had a bunch of Juliets. There was a deaf Juliet. There was I can't remember how many people were involved, but it was kind of a representation and an integrated process where, and the joy of it was we just capitalized on the amazing skills of everybody. But that was the first time I got to participate and see genuinely integrated work.
This one was an interesting one. I sort of interrogated myself a bit harder. And I went to a youth theatre when I was a kid, and there were two youth theatres that met in the same building. One cost a fair bit of money, and you do like Lambda exams and everything. And the other one was sort of a bit more community-based, cost £6 a year, and you could go every Monday night and just have a bit of fun and sometimes make a show for the stages there and going to festivals. I went to the £6 a year group, and we had some brilliant leaders. It was a bit chaotic, and I think most of the leaders did it voluntarily, and there was a point where there were no leaders available. And the group went up to 18, and we decided, well, we loved this, so we want to carry on meeting. And so we did. And our group was really diverse, and there was learning disabled people in the group. I mean, I'm a disabled and neurodivergent person, not that I knew that at the time, but, you know, I think people there were coming out with their sexuality, and there were lots of things happening in that space. And I really think it was there that I thought, well, we're all here, we want to do this, we haven't got a leader anymore, we'll make a play, we'll all be in it, we'll all have a part. And I'm not saying we didn't bicker or it wasn't sometimes a bit of a kind of interesting environment, but when I look back, I think, God, we were all sort of kids, really. And we kind of just made it work and we included everybody. And then that's just been in me ever since. And I think, I have always felt, like Sally was saying, a bit of a misfit. And just thought, well, we're all misfits and we'll all make space for each other. And I know this sounds a bit, maybe, I can't think of, anyway, I'll just say it. But I know a lot of people who went to the posh group, and I'm the only one who's working in theatre. And I just found it really interesting because I think you have to have a bit of grit and determination, and I feel like getting abandoned by our leaders, and having to make it up sort of taught me quite a lot, really.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, Kate, about also those different levels and about barriers and in terms of what those openings. And just picking up on your part of the question, Paul, about what is it? And I think it's very much about what the first panel said, in terms of integrated theatre being about the processes which allow the work and people to enter into the work in the same way. And I think that's particularly what we've been emphasising at Separate Doors. Because there's lots of stuff that goes around theatre, but actually it's, well, what is it that we do in the room that allows that to happen? And I think that's particularly important. My first experience was the kind of previous version of Dark Horse. So I first did a show here in Huddersfield with Full Body and the Voice, as it was then, and that was that was in 2006. So basically, the show was actually a vehicle for the lovely Ian Macmillan. He wrote the show, and that was conceived as an integrated cast show. And I think, in one sense, it was quite groundbreaking, as that was a full tour. As Ian has written about this since, I don't think he would mind me pointing out that also actually the biggest liability was Ian himself, because he couldn't remember his own words that he'd written. but so that was quite interesting to me. It was also about how do you set this up in the best possible way, to make sure that both the process works, but also the touring works as well. And so I think that's been the kind of focus of what we've been trying to do bit by bit through Separate Doors.
Cool, thank you for all your answers on that. My next question is, where do your authentic voices sit within your work? And how does working with disabled talent influence your creative processes? And I would like to start with you lots on that.
Well, I think what's been wonderful is I feel like this has been a massive gift to me as a neurotypical practitioner, because it's really opened up my processes, because every time you're questioning, how do you communicate what we want to happen in the room. So for me, particularly working with music and with vocalization, so we use process about using gesture in terms of working from natural impulses of sound. Everybody was here yesterday will have seen how quite often we work outwards from typical types of vocalization, which may be laughs and yawns. But they're very concrete things, but also integrating Makaton, for example, into song texts. Now that this has completely transformed what I do, so I've been using this. I've just done a project in Preston with 6 different choirs, and using that and it's been joyful and wonderful, but also, in fact, made my process and practice much better, because I think what Vanessa always talks about is clarity, and so that's really useful.
So, thank you.
So sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
So the question is, I've got to remember it myself.
Sorry, Paul.
That's all right. Where do authentic voices sit within your work, and how does working with disabled talent influence your creative processes?
I think when making a piece of work, whether it's kind of Hamlet or Panto, like I've been working on Panto for the last couple of years, I am excited by exactly what, like Tim Crouch was speaking about in his keynote, about the kind of possibilities that theatre offers to kind of have anybody and everybody up on the stage. And disability is a part of anybody and everybody. And I don't feel right if I don't have that diversity of people in a company. And also I find it really boring. And I just think, also there are plenty of Andrew Scotts and the like who are doing it already, and that exists. So I can leave them to that, fine. But there's not enough of disabled talent being explored and, you know, integrated audio description, like Amy was talking about. And I have that appetite to play with that and to enjoy that and to have different people on stage. So I'm like, that's me. And a bit like Amy, I think people come to expect it of me now, which is like really great, because you kind of, and sometimes I think people think, oh, Kate won't like if you don't cast a disabled person. I think, no, I won't. And I'm glad that you think that. You know, and I think it's just, and I feel that about other identities as well. And, you know, coming with the Panto, and some of my long-suffering colleagues in the room have allowed me to do a 6-month casting process, because I was determined that it was going to be a diverse group of people, because kids are going to come in age 4 and 5 and probably see their first piece of theatre. I really want them to see the world that they live in on that stage. Like, it might be Jack and the Beanstalk with all fantastical things happening, but that representation on the stage. Like Michelle sometimes says about this Lenny Henry quote that I think we both like, of if you can't see it, you can't be it. And so for me, it's showing, look, it's possible, anybody, like Tim was saying, anyone can be Jack or the Giant or Pat the Cow or anyone. Panto's great for that as well, because you get away with it a lot more. People don't get upset. In the same way that, oddly, they get a bit upset, or if a disabled person plays Hamlet, all the reviews about the political statement that was, rather than just, well, they're just Hamlet. So I probably haven't answered the question, but you get the gist.
No, I get the gist. You get it.
It's interesting, I guess, because as a movement director or within a teaching capacity, in both hats, I don't mean this about it. I don't have a lot of power sometimes when it comes to casting, when it comes to who's in the training room. So to acknowledge that, but also to say I grab as much power as I can, in terms of in terms of authentic voices. I will often ask questions, or I'll be, well, I need to bring someone in, because it can't be me who's saying this. I don't have that. I think it's really important that we hear from someone who is experiencing or lives, this is a lived experience for them. And sometimes within movement directing as well, I'll be like, I'm not the right person for this job, basically. And that's not to say like I've jobs coming left, right, and center, and I'm like, oh, whatever. But like sometimes you just have to go, like, and that would be in terms of across the board, in terms of kind of wider representation, I would say. And in the same, just kind of slipping as well, because I think training is there's a training. I think, with the exception of organizations and companies like Dark Horse, or there are some programs that really consider training for deaf and disabled actors and artists, but for the most part, it's inherently ableist. Yeah. So that's a whole other kind of sort of thing. In terms of my process, I'll always want to meet whoever's in the room and create and find a process that is going to serve the entire space. And that's why when I started working with Separate Doors, which was a big change for how I used to work in a room and has affected how I work in the room now overall, I would say, it was like, okay, this is genuinely looking at everyone in the room and how do we have a process that can serve and meet everyone.
It's a bit of a vexed question for writers, I think, for non-learning disabled or non-disabled writers like me writing for disabled or learning disabled people. And to be completely honest with you, I was already doing it before I even started asking myself that question. I had not questioned whether it was appropriate for me to be doing it. I'd started working with Raised Roof in Harlow and I was having a great time. I was kind of writing quite freely with them and making loads of mistakes, and they were very generously sort of, you know, pointing out my mistakes and asking questions of me about how I could write more appropriately and more facilitatively for them. And I was like, oh God, yeah, you're right, I need to do it like this, I've got to try that, and we should be doing this. And I was just really, really lucky, and I've learned so very much from going through that process, and then later joining with Separate Doors and learning even more. And so this is a kind of really deep question, and not something that we can unpack right now in this short amount of time, about authenticity and who should be representing who. But and also how another question that kind of stems from that is how can we encourage more writers like yourself, Paul, to be able to write, you know, and so that somebody like me isn't, you know, doing it instead. So I'm just raising that as a question, rather than answering your question. But my main takeaway is that I've been really privileged, and I've learned a hell of a lot, and it's been something that I've taken into my other practice going forward.
Okay. Next question is, did you have any preconceptions when you first worked with an integrated cast, and how has your preconceptions changed as you gain more experience? Or if you haven't got any, that's great also. So
I think I can't really remember. I can remember doing work with kind of a cast that maybe I found a bit like, oh, this is a bit boring, because everybody's kind of very similar, and it's very similar to a lot of other work. And then I sort of found myself leaving mainstream, if you like, you know, I mean, I'm talking about in venues, mid-scale venues, behind, because I, at that time, just was like, I don't understand how to do what I'm interested in here. And then I think, well, I don't know whether it's a preconception, but I just have met, it's so much better now, it really is, but a lot of kind of pushback on, we can't have somebody, you know, we can't have a learning disabled person in this because X, Y, Z. And when I was younger, I'd think, oh, I haven't got any power to sort of fight the fight there. I'm just going to have to get on with it, and I think it'll be fine. And then as time's gone on, I've been able to push a bit more and sort of say, let's do this. We can do it. It really isn't as scary as you think. I can't remember who said about fear of the unknown. So I think I think I'm a bit lucky, really. I really think that youth theatre thing just made me feel like everybody's included, and that's always sort of been in me. But it's about having the confidence to... And sometimes still, I think, just employing a disabled person may be perceived as a risk. And then sometimes when it's me that's really pushed, I feel I'm carrying the risk. And, I mean, I don't think there's risk with any single person. Anything could happen. Some actors turn out to not be very nice people, and that all goes a bit disastrously wrong, but people don't worry about that in the same way. But yeah, and I think it's about like changing other people's preconceptions has been my main thing.
Cool.
I think it was alluding back to something Sally said last night as well about like talking like she doesn't know any learning disabled people was what I remember, and it's so she's not writing. I think did I have any preconceptions? No, I had a lot of fear.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fear that I was going to screw up essentially, or like just totally fuck up and just say the wrong thing, or like do something, and in that way, so the assumption that, yeah, that I think that was the biggest thing, and I learned, and you know, and I worked with really generous people. I was really lucky. Like my first time in rooms with, you know, deaf artists, you know, I did a lot of watching, I did a lot of mistakes, and then was just learning, you know, just things, and same with when I started working with Separate Doors. I had never had the opportunity, unfortunately, to work with a learning disabled actor previous to that. So, yeah, but it was so I don't know if I had assumptions, I had fear.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I really want to ask this question, so I'm sorry about not asking it also. But it's about this silent approach. In a time where people are asking for stories from people's lived experiences, does this silent approach, do you think this stops that from happening in a way? And also, a follow-up question is, what stories would you like to see next? Yeah, because we're about 5 minutes, so actually 2 minutes I've just been told, so I'm sorry, it's a deep question, and we can ask questions later on as well.
Yeah, I think sometimes in terms of what people perhaps initially see in terms of silent approach, think that there's a lot of imposition, which perhaps speaks to your question about, well, is that authenticity not coming through? But it's about being minimal in terms of and uncluttered in communication, which actually frees my extraordinary colleagues and actors who see the extraordinary invention on stage constantly, and it allows that to happen, and the authenticity and truth, joy and interest to shine through. In terms of the stories, I'd like to do what the advisory board at Separate Doors want to do, and also the breadths of types of characters. That's what I want to see, that people getting different types of opportunities. It was brilliant yesterday to see George, who I think many of us know from CBeebies, being deeply angry, irascible, difficult character. It's the joy of the breadth of humanity I want to see.
So, yeah.
I think the authenticity doesn't have to mean that you are playing a learning disabled character if you're learning disabled. I think it can be that you're playing a character like, you just mentioned that George was playing yesterday, but you are bringing who you are palpably to that character. In Separate Doors, because everything is really tightly framed in the rehearsal room in order to be supportive for everyone. People sometimes feel like that's an element of control that actors don't have much say in, because then you're thinking verbally. But if you're watching the physical performance of everybody in those rehearsal rooms, people are making physical decisions and emotional decisions of their own, using their own agency all the time. And they feel enabled to do that because they're in a very supportive, practical and emotional frame. Yeah.
Cool. As we have, the Golden's just gone, but as like but as in Mastermind style, I asked the question, so I'm carrying on. Kate and
Can you ask the question one more time? Sorry, just
so
so
the
as clear as
question
possible.
that I asked was, at a time where authentic voices and people are asking for stories from people with lived experiences, does the silent approach stop this from happening? And also, what stories would you like to be seeing more of?
Thank you, thank you.
Or dances in your case.
Thank you. I mean, these two have spoken very eloquently, I think, in terms of, I don't think the silent approach silences. I think it enables the workroom and the process. And I think, you know, additional to that, I think it's about meeting whoever is in your workroom or the workroom, and making sure that the workroom is open as well, but meeting who's in the workroom in a certain process. In terms of, so I feel like I can't speak better than what's been said there. In terms of stories I want to see, in a way, I think, I don't really know how to answer that question. Sometimes I don't know what story I want to see until I've seen it. But also I think it's maybe less about stories that I want to see and asking other people who often aren't asked what stories they want to see. What stories do you want to see? Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Okay, and we're going to leave it with Kate.
What stories do you want to see in the silent approach? I think the silent approach is a tool that can be used in a rehearsal room to open it up to people, as Ness always says, where text isn't the first way in. And perhaps particularly in the UK, we're very text first. But theatre is so physical and visceral, and it's one of the things that makes it unique and different from a TV or radio. So I think just look at it as like a really fabulous physical tool that you can use. And like, it's not a manifesto, it's more take bits from this that you think would open up your rehearsal room. So to me, it seems like an access tool. And also kind of bringing the ensemble, like, it's wonderful how in tune everybody is with each other, which sometimes on stage can get a bit sort of forgotten. And it's a tool in that way too. And I just want to see theatre doing things that only theatre can do in terms of storytelling. We have wonderful TV shows and Netflix, but making an orange into a dog, watching people raising sails and running a boat in front of our eyes in the middle of Huddersfield is something only theatre can do. So, and that, you just have to turn up and have a body to do theatre. So let's celebrate that.
Yeah. On that brilliant note, I would like to thank the panel. And yeah, thank you very much.
Right, give it up for the two panels there. Amazing, isn't it? So, what I want to talk about next is what exactly is a provocation, because that's something that's going to be covered in a bit by our provocateur. A provocation is something that disrupts. It makes an impact, stirs the pot, if you will. Simply put, it stands out and makes a lot of noise in its own way, even if that noise is silent. So, with that in mind, I would like to introduce to all of you our provocateur today. As well as being a member of the Separate Doors National Ensemble, he is an author, a CBeebies presenter, a dancer, a performer, appearing soon in Panto at the Royal and Derngate Theatre. Little plug for you there. And just basically a celebrity. Basically, he's a jack of all trades and an expert of all of them. So, that's how amazing he is. So please welcome to the stage our amazing provocateur, the one and only, and Separate Doors' own, George Webster.
I'm George Webster and I'll be your provocateur for today's conference. So I'm wearing glasses, a check blue shirt with a plain blue t-shirt underneath, and some navy chinos and some white trainers. So I've always wanted to perform and be on the stage. So when me and my sister were younger, we used to love performing many performances in front of our mum and dad. And seeing the joy that performing gave me, my parents involved me in a local theatre and music club called Stage Door. So I took part in musical theatre, singing and drama classes with students from diverse walks of life. When I first joined Stage Door, I struggled with my speech, so I had speech therapy sessions, which helped me to perform on stage and helped me to communicate with the team and you, the audience. Whilst I was overcoming challenges of my own, Stage Door were learning how to support me and how to work with me in their creative space. And this led to the whole team really including me in the classes, our annual yearly shows, and also helping me to improve my singing, something which any performer may struggle with, even if they do not have a learning disability. I also went to a weekly dance class on a Friday night with a company called Mesh Dance, and all the dancers had different disabilities, and access was a challenge. I was dependent on my family or my personal assistants to take me there every week. And we were the first inclusive dance company to represent Yorkshire at the U-Dance National Finals in Birmingham, and which was super fun and a rare example of representation. We had incredible support at Mesh Dance because the staff were trained to work with people with learning disabilities. Unfortunately, such programs usually depend on external funding, meaning opportunities like this are unstable and long-term. So mesh dance no longer exists for this reason, leaving many people with learning disabilities without space to practice and demonstrate professional talents. Following mesh dance, I auditioned for a professional dance troupe called the Talent Club. So we went on residencies together and did lots of fun dancing. And we made a dance piece with choreographers called Helm, which we toured nationally in the UK. We had amazing support from the whole Talent Club team. Support was very inclusive, so they made easy-read documents for us, telling us who was going to be there and what we were doing. And support extended past the workplace. They helped us with life skills, like using our money, getting a taxi and making lunches and dinners. This made us feel included and in control and independent. Having these life skills helps us to be independent and access future long-term jobs and opportunities without needing to depend on other people. So the whole point of the Talent Club was to show that a company of neurodivergent people can put on a professional touring show and change the perception of people with learning disabilities in the theatre space. Following the Talent Club, I filmed a documentary about my parkrun experience with Guy Sports Mix, and it's also about my ambassador role and how I became parkrun famous. And the documentary series was all about different people's experiences with parkrun and how it changed their lives. It's also important to keep fit and healthy. So my health and fitness is so important for the demand of theatre. I then became an ambassador and mythbuster for MenCap. We campaigned to improve the representation for people with Down syndrome and other learning disabilities. By busting myths and busting myths on Down syndrome and other learning disabilities is important. We want to change people's perceptions, stereotypes, and old-fashioned views to improve representation in society and the wider media. We hope this makes society more accepting and inclusive for us. I then went to my first professional acting job in a short film called SAM, which is about discovering your sexuality whilst having a disability. So I played the role of Sam, and I won an award for Best Actor at the Oscar Bright Festival in Brighton. And this was selected by the BFI. The recognition that I received from this film helped me access more opportunities in film and TV, like being a drug dealer, in Casualty, and a war refugee in a drama called World on Fire. So I have learned how to portray serious characters, funny characters, strong characters, dangerous characters, and not only a role is to have a learning disability. I then joined the CBBB family as a CBBB presenter. They really welcomed me into the amazing CBBB family. And they give me amazing support over these past 4 years, and I'm never going to leave. It's so much fun. When I was launched on the CBBB channel, the news and social media had such a positive response. They never mentioned that I had Down syndrome because it's all about me being a good presenter. They have made me feel super excited and happy because I've been recognized for my professional skills, not my disability. It's important that I work at CBBS, that kids can have different role models from diverse walks of life. Kids can see people like me achieving their dreams. For CBBS, I even won a BAFTA for being a presenter. So I hope this inspires them to dream big too. And with the right support, they can achieve their big dreams. Alongside television, as Nicky said, I am now a member of the Separate Doors National Ensemble. And Making Tomorrow Theatre is our third project. Separate Doors having used inclusive techniques which are really seen in theatre. And the technique we use is called the silent approach. And we can only talk when you're acting and other directing is through gestures. It's super fun and makes classes equally accessible for everyone involved because all the focus is on the acting. And Separate Doors have opened doors for me. And I performed in a play in France called Back to Reality, which is loads of fun. So the director that came to the first show that Separate Doors put on, and they were looking for an actor to be in their play. But they were not looking for an actor with a learning disability, but they chose me. I'm very grateful my skills and hard work were really recognised. So Back to Reality is part tragedy, it's part comedy, and it's part sci-fi. During this experience, I have faced some challenges, because one is I'm not fluent in French, because I'm more fluent in English. But the team had translated for me and even helped me pronounce my lines in French like a local. The second is that I had to travel internationally on public transport. Luckily, my amazing dad accompanied me. But one of the biggest things that we noticed, that the team were very interested in my dad's role as my creative facilitator. And this is something they don't have in France. For me, this shows that there is a universal lack of access to theatre for people with learning disabilities. Now, onto the areas of the conference. The first area is talent. Now, this can be a harsh word because we're all talented at different things, but not everything. So we need to look for the things that make us glow, whether you have a disability or not. You might need to have support in finding the things that you like, and that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. There are many types of support, including having an extra teacher in the classroom, needing learning aids, or having a chaperone to go to sessions, like my sister, who's been this week, and I'm really grateful, so thank you, Lauren. And support is not just for people who have disabilities, but sometimes our need for support is not always recognised. The second common area is opportunity. People with a learning disability might find it harder to enter a creative space because the training and the development is not always accessible for them. This is partially because of stereotypes and that there are more accessible spaces for people who will not have disabilities. We are limited because we don't have enough money for funding. We don't have enough time for training, and companies don't know what support they should put in place to help us be part of professional projects. There are not many professional companies who have worked with disabled actors and don't know how to support them. So this means that there is not enough for representation for people with a learning disability in the theatre industry, but there should be. The third common area is development and training. There are opportunities for training and development for people with disabilities. However, most groups are not associated with universities and professional companies, meaning a lot of opportunities are not paid or long-term for us. So this means that integration is only on the surface. And in reality, we are separated from paid work, but also society as well. So we should train and develop our skills with people that do not have disabilities. Because we need to share our experiences and talent together. It's a chance to make new friends and connections. It's also a way of building confidence and storytelling too. So in my experience, support for people with disabilities is lacking because organisations don't know what support we need. They might lack funding, or they're worried about lower audience engagement, or they don't have faith in our talents and quality. Some opportunities are solely inaccessible because we cannot travel there. There are many ways to be more inclusive. This could be a teaching approach, installing some staff, some BSL, or simply asking us what we need and making the space for support to happen. The fourth common area is the audience. Audiences generally do not view us the same way as mainstream professionals. So normally, we are put into the same victimized roles which reflects how society sees us. We do not want sympathy. We want to be recognized for our talents. We can't always play a victim. We can play other diverse roles too. So we can play villains, psychics, or heroes. Please give us the same time to practice and learn like you give to major professionals. And people are not really engaged, and they're being stereotypical when they see disabled people in society and the theatre industry. They don't see us as people like they are. They think that performances with disabled people are lower quality, which is just not true. And the fifth and final representation is representation. We want representation in the theatre industry to go forwards, like the film and television industry is doing. I don't think I represent everyone with a disability, because I represent me. Because I don't represent all men or all bad singers or all 25-year-olds. Individuality in neurodiversity should be represented. Having one member in a theatre company is not very diverse. It's just ticking a box. We need to improve representation and expand it too. Right, so I'll now ask you to think about these 5 questions that I would want you all to think about and answer. So outside the auditorium, there is a whiteboard and some sticky notes. So the first question is, what can you make to open the creative space for people with learning disabilities? So what changes? 2, what do you think is positive about integrating people with disabilities? Now, you've heard from my experience. 3, have I challenged any of your stereotypes today? Which ones and why? 4, what have I said or have you heard at this conference that makes you happy and hopeful for the future of theatre? And the 5th and final question is, what is the biggest change that others should make to help us to succeed? So thank you, and please answer the outside. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Separate doors. Same house.
Us Webster! Woo! We are lucky. We are very lucky to have him. I'll tell you that much. So, with all that in mind, I just want to say that from 12:30 to 2:30, we need you to do double duty. Number 1, you will be having lunch, of course. But number 2, you need to try and answer George's questions. Now, a Separate Doors Advisory Board member, Charlene Salter, and the team will help you to answer George's questions. So all you got to do is just go to the post-it wall, write down your thoughts, and pop it on the post-it wall. Simple, easy, right? And I think we all know that we can all do that. So, with all that in mind, please come back into the auditorium for our 2:30 roundtable discussions. So before we depart, I just want to say thank you to the people that have taken part in the first half of the session, all the speakers that we have had, eh? They've been fantastic. Absolutely. A fantastic first half of the conference. So I just want to say for now, have a great lunch, everybody. We'll see you back here.